So hello, first of all, my name is Danny. Welcome to the session today. We're looking at live video, how a beauty brand boosted their engagement 3 times with Cloudinary's streaming workflow. So onto the story. Imagine, if you will, you've been gearing up for this big product launch for months and months. You've been planning everything meticulously, partnering with beauty influencers, partnering with people who can really make an impact, only to watch your audience just disappear on the day. That's basically what happened with BlushBay. They're a beauty brand who specialize in frequent product drops to build engagement and to build sales, but they had buffering wheels spinning, they had people disconnecting, they had all manner of problems with their previous video solution. People just weren't happy, and it was damaging the reputation of the brand, so they had to change things quickly. BlushBay tried out a number of different platforms, such as YouTube and TikTok Live, but it wasn't quite right for them. Those platforms are fine if you're a content creator, but they're not really centered around scale, control, or commerce in particular. As I say, they're meant for content creators, so it wasn't quite the right fit. What's worse is some of these platforms had pre-roll ads ahead of their video, potentially funneling eager viewers, eager purchasers away to a competitor's website. Obviously, not a great situation to be in. So this is the point at which we started having conversations with BlushBay. They were looking for a fairly specific setup, dealing with real-time encoding, adaptive bitrate streaming, and a number of other different things. Their needs, as I say, were quite unique. Their team didn't want to have to manage video infrastructure or have to worry about device compatibility. They kind of wanted to push that over to someone else, us. So by live streaming via Cloudinary, BlushBay were able to integrate their live video into their website and to their app, giving full brand control, analytics, and crucially, a nice back catalog of previous streams to go through after the fact, make highlight videos out of, etc. All in all, once everything was delivered, they were much, much happier. They saw 3 times the viewer engagement. They saw a 90% drop in complaints about buffering and quality, and about a 20% boost in the same-day sales during live events. A success story. So over the next 10 or 15 minutes or so, we'll be taking you through setting up live streaming through Cloudinary and delivering the video on your site. On to the fun part, the demo. Head over to our Cloudinary account and take a look at a few different bits and pieces. So here in our training cloud, we're going to go into the video section, into live streams, and we're going to create ourselves a brand new live stream. I'm just going to give this a quick name of product launch, as suggested there by my autocomplete. So the idle timeout, this is the amount of time between your broadcast stopping and the stream being sort of formally stopped within Cloudinary. And the maximum runtime, of course, is to make sure the stream doesn't go on in perpetuity. So keep the idle timeout at about 60 seconds, and the max runtime can be 15 minutes. I'll go ahead and create that stream. Over here on the product settings, we have a number of different bits of key information available to us. So firstly, we have the ID. We don't need to worry too much about this. This is just kind of how we reference the live stream internally within Cloudinary. The status of the video is, of course, idle because we're not currently broadcasting. The stream key, however, that is very important. This is effectively what identifies you as the streamer on the platform. So this information should be treated very, very carefully. It should be kept under lock and key. It should be treated like a password. So if you take away one thing from today, it's look after your stream key. The RTMP URL, this is the URL to which we're going to be sending our stream, and Cloudinary can ingest it and transform it as needed. We discussed the idle timeout and the max runtime, so we won't go over that. Created and updated is fairly obvious. The HLS URL, this is the M3U8 link which you could use to embed within third-party services. So be it broadcasting and consuming within VLC video player, or a third-party site such as many of the testing sites available for M3U8 links, or separate video player. The HLS public ID is here, and you might notice that looks a bit familiar. It's actually the ID plus a few other little parameters. This is just how we refer to the assets in Cloudinary once the live stream is over. That's how it's stored in your account. Finally, we've got the player link. This is a quick way of viewing the video. Pop open a new tab, edit a few bits and pieces. So there's some useful things there. Obviously, the stream isn't active right now, so there's no preview. And the stream is currently offline, but here in the corner, you do have a quick visual representation of the stream status. And lastly, we have the live stream health and analytics section here. Obviously, the stream is offline, so no info to be given right now, but this will be 2 separate graphs showing info that we'll go into in a few moments. Heading over to OBS. If you're not familiar with it, this is what many, many people use to actually broadcast their content online. It's possibly the premier streaming software, and the great thing about it is it's free and it's open source. So it's got a huge community around it. If you need to know things about OBS, I'm sure there are YouTube tutorials, blog posts, all sorts of things. It's really a great bit of software. So I've set up a couple of scenes on OBS. Firstly, we have our landing page or our holding page. So what I like to do is I like to have a few different elements so that people know kind of what's going on. If you were to have a static image, it might be simplistic, it might be nice and clean, but anyone arriving on your live stream, they might see this and go, well, is it frozen? Is it not working? Is it just a picture? So what I like to advise people to do is have some kind of moving element on the screen so people can see it's a video, it's active, it's working as it should. So we've just got a funky little spinner here, and I also have a little stream starting soon with an animated ellipsis, just to kind of drive that point home that this is live content. We also have ourselves a product demo scene. So this is a representation of what BlushBay were doing. They would have a marketing person or an influencer presenting products, fielding questions, demonstrating things, and showing things in real time. You see, we have this white logo here. It's like a translucent, transparent type situation, just adding a little bit of extra branding, a little more sort of BlushBay flavor to it. And finally, we have the purchase tracker in the middle. What BlushBay like to do is kind of celebrate their customers so that customers could provide little messages saying, hey, this is a great product. I've used it for years. This is my 17th purchase. Hurrah. It's just a way of kind of drawing focus to the purchases that are happening during the live stream. So it comes up with a first name and a first initial and the product that was bought, as well as a little product preview image. That pops up every sort of 15 or 10 seconds or so in this demo. It's just a little thing we hard-coded, but just to give you a representation of what BlushBay were looking at. Going into our settings, I'm not going to go over everything because it's quite robust. There's a lot of information in there, but I'll go through a few key bits and pieces. So firstly is the stream. They were previously using one of many other services, but we need to go into custom to set this up for ourselves. The RTMP server is, as was demonstrated here, we have this, which is the endpoint at which Cloudinary are ingesting the data. And our stream key is what we're using to actually authenticate ourselves, actually broadcast the stream. You may notice that user authentication is actually blank. This is very much an intentional choice. If you were to have this open, you would be required to enter a username and a password. Obviously, we don't want you to be storing your Cloudinary API key or your API secret in plain text on your machine. In the highly unlikely event that your machine would be compromised, someone could see that, authenticate as you, and cause all manner of chaos on your Cloudinary account. The stream key is what authenticates you as the streamer on Cloudinary. And one thing I didn't actually point out within the live streams section here is the stream key will be unique per live stream. If for whatever reason you need to retire one, it's very simple to kind of cancel it out here and create a new set of credentials. Our output, again, won't go into a huge deep dive on this because there's a lot that can be said. The video bitrate is currently capped at 6,000 kilobits per second. This was the maximum bitrate allowed in Twitch. They just kind of kept it as is, but we can have this set kind of as high or as low as you need. The only real bottleneck here is your own computer's performance or whatever machine is doing the streaming. Into our video settings here, we have a base canvas resolution of 1080p and an output resolution of 720p. The difference between these two is subtle, but quite important. So the base canvas resolution, this is how much space within OBS you have to place all your different elements. So if you have a lot of things going on, you obviously need a lot of space to manage that and make sure things fit nicely. So we've set the canvas to 1080p in this instance, but you'll notice we're outputting at 720p. What this is doing is it is taking this entire full HD canvas and it is then downscaling it before it sends it out to us, the broadcaster. What this means is that your computer is doing extra rendering. It's taking this large image, encoding it to something smaller and sending it along. Because Cloudinary, we like to look after that for you. We can handle creating the different renditions. We can handle creating different bit rates. So what you can do is actually defer to us. If you have the same canvas and output resolution, we will then create all the different renditions that your customers need. We're also setting this to 30 frames per second. So you could very well have it at 60. If you have a lot of moving graphics or fast moving animations, then 60 might make for a smoother experience. But because this is essentially a talking head, we can just have this sat at 30 or perhaps even 24 or 25 if needs be. As mentioned, you can increase this if you'd so like, but of course, doubling the frame rate will impact the amount of data your computer needs to send and to render. So just bear that in mind if you're planning on tinkering. So I'm going to press OK on that. I'm going to press the Start Stream button here. And hopefully it comes up in the video. I appreciate that it might be a little bit high res for some people. We can see that has now connected. We've been connected for sort of 5 or 6 seconds here. And the target bitrate has been matched here. We're seeing no drop frames, which is great. But one thing I do like to recommend for OBS is to open up the stats doc. If you go into the docs menu here and press stats, this just gives you a little extra information about your stream so you can kind of keep tapped on things. We can see here, we're not currently recording the stream locally, so we don't need to worry about the disk space, but a couple of key bits of information to look out for here are your frame rate. Obviously, you don't want to see any dips. But here, the frames missed due to recording lag and frames skipped due to encoding lag. We want to make sure that's nice and low. So it's a good way of keeping an eye on the health of your stream. As mentioned, if we go into our settings, we could set the video bitrate to a very high number indeed, but if your computer struggles to render that, obviously when it's ingested into Cloudinary, the output won't be great. So just to keep that in mind. Heading back to our product launch live stream profile, if we give this a little refresh, we should see this update. Here we go. So it says live stream not started because it's still kind of taking a moment to interact. You'll notice that the live stream health says poor. If we look at the stream health, we can see that we're ingesting lots and lots of video, but audio is currently at 0 effectively. So what this means is because we're detecting video and not audio, we are classifying that as a problem. So all I'm going to do here is unmute my microphone. And within a few moments, that audio will be sent into Cloudinary. And we should see the stream health improve very, very shortly. You may have noticed as well, as it's broken down, you have the total bitrate, the audio bitrate, and the video bitrate. And this takes about sort of 5 or 10 seconds to update. So we should see this refresh in a moment and see a nice little spike. Here we go. So we see a small uptick, and we now see that the live stream health is excellent. So we're taking video and audio and seeing that's working correctly. Our analytics, again, this is updated very, very frequently, every sort of 5 or 6 seconds or so. We have 1 current viewer and 1 max concurrent viewer. This is obviously the amount of people who are looking at this at the same time. And this is just the fact that I have the Cloudinary video player open and enabled at this moment in time. We can see an average watch time as well. That graph can be very useful for seeing the health of your stream, not necessarily from a technical perspective, but from an audience performance perspective. So say, for instance, you were doing a large product launch and you had 5 or 6 sort of smaller launches and a big flagship product launch at the beginning. What you might see is you might see 100 or so people connect. They tune in for the big flagship product launch and then everybody disconnects. So you would see that big dip in your graph here. So when you're analyzing it later down the line, you can go, okay, if we keep people engaged and tease the big product announcement, we maintain our viewership for longer. This can be a little way of keeping an eye on how you're doing, how you're performing with your audience. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is open up this in another tab. We do need to have an additional parameter here, which will be addressed in a future release coming very soon. We just need to add and source type equals HLS, and we should see our stream. One of the great things you have about the Cloudinary live streaming experience is that you are able to customize your player to fit your branding and to fit your needs. So we'll have a quick look at that whilst this irons itself out. So I'm going to press the Customize Player button just here. And we can customize the player to our needs. So there are a few key standout things. Firstly, this is due to replace the old studio.cloudinary.com. This is very much a lo-fi version of our video player studio. On the latest version, there's a lot more features and functionality. We can go into a few different aspects of this and change how our player behaves and performs. So if we open up our player behavior section, we can set if the player will start once the live stream is scrolled into view. We can start it muted. We can show volume controls, allow users to keep our content in frame whilst they're browsing other things with the picture-in-picture mode. But what's quite exciting is the branding section. So rather than having the default Cloudinary logo and direct it to us, you can white label it per se. So we can have this point to another place. So what I'm going to do is take our sample logo here, my unicorn logo, and take this over to a separate website. So we'll say BlushBay, for instance. Oh my goodness, I cannot type today. There we go, blushbay.com. Want to go back to our list. We can go into our player settings. Obviously, as we're doing a live stream, the amount of settings you can change are absolutely minimal. But if you're doing a standard video, then you'd have a few more options available to you. In our player appearance, though, again, we can add a bit more flair, a bit more branding and variety. So instead of having the base color of black, BlushBay like to use sort of this dusty pink color. And the accent color relates to the sort of the scroll bar of the video. So they typically would have that set to white. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll save the profile as BlushBay product launch. There we go. So we've created our new profile. Head back to our live streams and go into our product launch. We're looking good there. So what I'm going to do is take our little snippet from earlier and show this in JS Fiddle. So when you're embedding the player, you can do this in your app or your website. We need to take our public ID from our product launch live stream. So public ID is hiding just over there. So we'll copy that to our clipboard and paste it into here. Our profile, we do have a few different ones set up. BlushBay product launch. Add that here. And then in our Cloudinary player configuration, we want to make sure the type is set to live and the source types is HLS. We go ahead and save that and press run. And we can see our player appearing now. As you can see, the stream is indeed broadcasting and being ingested here. So as we set the setting within the Cloudinary Studio, we've started this video off as muted. I won't increase the size here because then we'll hear me twice and we don't need to hear me 2 times. So yeah, we have a few different options. Our picture-in-picture mode, our full screen mode, and of course our logo, which directs us to the BlushBay website, which we previously configured. So that's all there. Now, one of the great things about using the Cloudinary video player rather than doing something in-house or using a third-party tool is the fact that it will scale, it'll change the bitrate settings as needed for the end user. What I mean by this is if we go ahead and we open up our inspector, I'm just going to move this to the bottom to make things more visible. Here we go. So looking at our network tab, you can see here that we're currently broadcasting, receiving the stream at 480p resolution. If you were a mobile user viewing this stream, you may not need to get the full resolution. Perhaps you're only viewing on a small device. So now instead of sending 480p, we're sending 240p. But let's say that user went ahead and they went, okay, you know what? I'm going to tune in for this. I'm going to give it my full attention, full screen it. As they increase the size of their viewport, or if they go full screen, we then adapt the amount of data that we send to the client. So in this instance, now we've gone up to a 420p. If I was to scroll out a bit here, we should see this increase even further to 1080p. What's also great about this is we also take into consideration the customer's network conditions. So if they were watching this on a train, for instance, and they're going through a tunnel, the signal might be impacted. If we just pretend this is a 4G connection, in a few moments, we'll see that the quality of the stream will drop somewhat. So yeah, we've now gone from 1080 to 240, and we'll start to see this look a little more grainy. Now, it may not be the most visually appealing stream in the world, but the key thing is that stream's not interrupted. There's no break between buffering or waiting or loading. It continues to play the video despite the user's network conditions not being ideal. So it just adds a bit of a smoother experience for end users. As mentioned, the max concurrent viewers, etc., these will update fairly frequently and can be used to give an idea of how your stream might be performing. So perhaps, for instance, you've had some customers complain on a live chat that, yeah, it's moving smoothly, but it's a little bit grainy, it's a little bit wishy-washy, it doesn't look great. What you might want to do is then increase the quality of that stream, not through the stream profile, but actually being sent through OBS. So if I go into OBS and we can increase the bitrate, for instance, we can go into our stream output. We can go from 6,000 kilobits a second to 12,000. Once we press OK, we should see this reflected in the stream health very, very shortly. Should see a big uptick. So again, it can be a good way of sort of monitoring how things are going. And there we go. And we can see an improvement in the stream quality in real time. Lovely. That about wraps things up. We've demoed using individual stream profiles, how you might adjust the quality within OBS, a few quick tips on how to keep customers engaged and know that things are working correctly. And I'd say that about wraps things up. I'm going to press stop streaming here. One thing I didn't demonstrate actually was the fact that I did mention it verbally, how when you stream via Cloudinary, you will also, once you're finished, you'll be able to create a compendium of previous streams. So if you go into the folders view, for instance, I can see that I've got these previous live streams here, which I can catalog. I can send them off to the video editing team for clips and highlights. We can do that. And much like with all the other Cloudinary features, we can categorize them with tags, retrieve them later, download different renditions. There's all sorts of things that we can do with them. Definitely a powerful feature to have. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions at all, and we'll be sure to look after you.